Today, we're gonna talk about two different fixture sets. They're both from Delta and they're very similar. One we got from Home Depot and it was about $361 for this kit. And then the other we got from our vendor, Ferguson. They're our supply house, and this particular kit, if you were comparing similar ones, we'll get into the differences later, but would be about $413. So roughly a 14% difference from each side. I haven't really compared these before, so I'm kind of curious to see what we find out. So the key difference between what you can get at Home Depot versus what you can get at Ferguson or a plumbing supply house is gonna be it's all, I would say, an all-in-one kit. Everything in this box is ready to go. It's gonna be great for people who want simplicity, who maybe understand kind of what they're gonna do with it, maybe a little more of a DIY situation or a pull and replace, and really wanna kind of maximize their budget, make it go further. Another key difference or a key thing to note is that all of the lines that I'm aware of that are sold in Home Depot are Home Depot only. I can't actually buy them from Ferguson, from our vendor, or from a supply house. I have to go to Home Depot to get this particular one. So this set is the Ferguson set, and I can only get that at Home Depot. On the flip side, Ferguson or any plumbing supply house for the most part is gonna offer a little more customer service. They're gonna make sure that you can probably customize anything and everything that you want with your assembly. And then they're gonna take care of you as far as like, hey, you're gonna need this part, you're gonna need that part, you're gonna need all of this to make sure it comes together. They might ask the right questions and really ensure that you're gonna get everything you need. And then on the back side of that, if for some reason something in this box is damaged, is different, maybe for whatever reason we've had this happen, the label doesn't match the actual color, they're gonna be great at getting you something that matches or that fixes the issue, whether that's a small replacement part or a full new box. So I think those are the key differences there, is we've got kind of full customer service, full customization versus ready to go in a box, pull it off the shelf. It should have everything you need for a simple configuration to install in your bathroom. I think initially my first reaction is it's like, you can tell that this is meant to live on a shelf that you walk by, that you can see, very easily what's in the box, what does the fixture look like, what am I getting from a very visual perspective. Aside from that, if we look at the ones we get from Ferguson and they kind of have a Delta Direct, they're simple sort of branding, if you will. They just have a kind of a product tag here that you have to sort of look at to understand what it is. And then we obviously just compare model numbers to make sure that what we've received at our office or in our shop matches the order that we placed for that particular project. So I think that's the first key difference I noticed from like a boxing perspective, is that we've just got sort of a consumer facing packaging, kind of visual. And then we've got more of like that builder packaging, less focused on what it looks like, more focused on like what's in the box and making sure it's the right product. So we'll push that one off to the side for now. Let's get into the shower. Another thing to mention, a lot of the lines at Home Depot, I can't speak specifically to all of them, but I think most of them are built and manufactured with an agreement between their manufacturers such as Delta and the store, Home Depot, for that product line. So Ferguson, I can't get this from our vendor or our supplier Ferguson. Like I don't believe I can get this. This is only a product that you can buy at Home Depot. So you could say it is exclusive, I guess. But in reality, that leaves me with a lot of questions about why. And so that's what I'm hoping we're gonna find out today. So again, this is the Ferguson, just a shower only kit. If we open this box, we can see, again, pretty similar, right? Got our instruction manual here. So one thing I guess I noticed right off the bat is this comes with a mixing valve. It does not appear that it has a stop though, or a temporary protective measure, which is one thing that I really like about the ones we get from our vendor, is it'll come with a stop to keep dust and dirt and debris from getting in there. In general though, this looks like the standard mixing valve from Delta. I mean, they're called, I think, the universal mixing valves. They're gonna have a 3-port or a 4-port if there's a tub spout. And even if it has a tub spout or a 4-port, you can just block that and it'll function for a shower only. It's pretty simple there. So that looks pretty normal, pretty standard. This guy, this is plastic. I was kind of thinking that might be a key difference, is we might find some plastic parts. Well, maybe it's metal. Honestly, I can't really tell. Maybe it's similar, but so that's our trim kit. Yeah, and as we're getting into it, right, they've got all the parts and pieces in here, so it's nice. You don't have to mix and match, you know. It's got it all in here. They're protected just like you normally would see from any vendor, any manufacturer. Yeah. Again, everything looks to be in here, which you would expect from anybody, right? Like you'd want it all to be there. This cartridge, I've seen these before. It's got plastic, you know, a fair amount of plastic components, rubber O-rings. It's got the adjustable kind of heat adjustment, I guess, or scald adjustment, I think is what it's called. So you can adjust that to get, you know, protect you from getting scalded. That's what that is. So that's that white piece there. Again, everything here looks fairly standard. Nothing is catching my attention right off the bat, other than this not having a protective cap. And what we did, I didn't realize that this kit was going to come with the mixing valve, because with our other products from Ferguson, we actually have to buy the mixing valve separate. So so what we did is we bought, you can buy one of the universal multi-choice Delta valves off the shelf at Home Depot, and it looks to be the exact same one. So let's get into that one, and then we'll open our shower trim kit too to see what our valve setup looks like, or our valve body looks like in that one, because I'm curious if that's going to have a little more metal. Again, I've seen these tend to work fairly well, and in these metal housings inside your wall. This is a replacement part that isn't terribly difficult to change out if you're having functionality problems. They typically won't leak, but sometimes they do go bad. So yeah, just something to note there, I guess. Push that off to the side. So let's actually just look to see. These have the exact same part number. This is looking the exact same. I imagine that these are identical. So this is Home Depot. We're going to keep our sides the same so we keep track of that. Okay, so first thing I noticed is that this, well, wait a second. So this box, this is from Home Depot. It has some writing on it. It almost looks like somebody had purchased this and then returned it. And yeah, this should be a 4-port based on this box, and it is actually a 3, and it's missing 2 components. Yeah, I would be upset if I went in Home Depot, bought this valve, wanted it to have 4 spouts. This only has 3, so you can see the key difference here. This is 4, it makes a cross. This one only makes a T. It'd be like this, I guess. And so this goes up to your shower, whereas this one can go up to your shower and down to your tub with those 2 ports that go up and down. Yeah, someone definitely, I think, bought the wrong one, went to Home Depot, bought the right one, put the one they didn't need into that box, and then returned it at Home Depot. Not uncommon, unfortunately. I've seen it before. But if I was someone who needed this part or piece, and then I put it in, and then if I didn't know what I was doing, I maybe wouldn't catch this right away. It has, oh, this has been used. Yeah, I can see buildup on there. So that's interesting, I guess. It does have the cap, but it doesn't have your metal ring, right? So this is what keeps your, yeah, this one is not used. So that's definitely, I think, been installed or used or something, or sat on a job site for a while. It was the wrong piece, they returned it. This from our vendor, clean, looks great, has everything it needs. It's got this is what we use or keep in during construction. You know, it comes like that. It's just got it inserted in there. It's got an O-ring on it, and then it does have your threaded ring to keep it in place. You can just hand tighten that, and then you can install this in the wall, and it's pretty much ready to go. We do recommend putting this into one of the ports. What this will do is you'll put it in either the hot or the cold, it doesn't matter, but it'll prevent water from backflowing through this valve. So if you don't have this, and I've had this happen a few times before, it's a simple fix, but if you have this roughed in a new bathroom, and let's say you forget to put the plug into this valve, depending on how the water is ran in a particular home, it could get what we typically see is that when someone goes to take a shower in a different bathroom, especially if they're right next to each other, or turns on the sink for hot water, it will only get like lukewarm, because what it'll do is it'll pull cold water through this into the hot water side, depending on how the pressure is, and then it'll make that other system or that other bathroom not function properly. So easy fix, something that I ran into before, but you basically just put this port in and it blocks so that the water can't mix inside of this valve while you're in construction. So I think the key takeaway here is that, like, you know, Home Depot, you don't really know what you're gonna get. You better double check the box. This doesn't have all the parts and pieces. It looks like it's been used. It looks like it's been returned, and it's not something that I would like to purchase and then get back to a job site with and be like, oh shoot, this isn't gonna work. This is a shower trim kit from Ferguson, our vendor specifically. This is I think this is a Trinsic, yeah, this is a Trinsic dual function. So this is gonna be slightly different than the one we opened from Home Depot, in the sense that it's gonna be a dual function, and I'll show you what that means here in a second. It is the shower trim only. And again, I think that's something to highlight, right? With Ferguson, we are able to sort of mix and match. And that's what I was prefacing earlier, is that, you know, we sort of put together, I would say, a customized package for what our clients wanted in this particular bathroom that you can't really do at Home Depot. Like not in the same way that we're able to here. First thing, we pull this off. You know, here's our basic shroud. I think the other one was metal. This feels very similar. The finish, I can tell, is slightly different. Yeah, it is, just slightly. Again, nothing too crazy, but slightly different there. I also noticed that they've got different outer. This is kind of a white poly on their outer ring, versus this one, it still has the black poly. And actually this isn't even tall enough, I don't think, to catch. So that's interesting. So when you think about this, I mean, we tend to apply sealant on the top, like 3/4 of all of these. We leave the bottom open so that it can drain, and that's why they have this little flange cut, is the same concept. And that's why this doesn't actually go all the way to there either, is you want that water to drain out the bottom. But what we're looking at is the profile here, right? And so you see that you want your you know, your poly to touch the tile or the surface before your metal does, and then that's what's going to give you kind of a nice little, they want to call it a seal. I mean, I don't believe that these actually seal all that much. They do help, but if it's not tall enough like this one, I mean, it's not even going to compress. Like it's just going to start to touch the metal, and then it's like, well, what's the point of it? So I don't know, just something that I kind of noticed. So if we talk about dual function, so if we set this here, and then we've got this, just like that. Dual function is this, basically meaning that the pressure and the temperature are gonna operate independently of each other. So you can turn this temperature dial, which is kind of the top, the first knob or the top section, you can turn that one independently. And then if you wanna turn your shower on and off, you use this one and you turn it to on. And again, they do a pretty good job. If you just want a little bit of pressure, if you want a lot of pressure, most of the time we find what people really like about these styles is you can just take this pressure and leave it, or excuse me, this temperature and leave it where you like it. And then you just turn your shower on and off every time. So it allows you just to keep the temperature the same or relatively the same, which some people really like, especially if you're the primary user and you just want the temperature to always be where it is, and then you just turn it on, let it warm up for a few seconds, jump in. Like, it can be super, I don't know, efficient, handy, helpful, whatever. So some people really like that. I'm not noticing, anything. I guess maybe one thing is this box is a little bit better separated than this one. This one was just kind of thrown into one big section. This has like a divider. Small thing, nothing too crazy. It has all the parts and pieces. Comes with everything you need. Rubber O-ring. Got all my screws. My shroud. Does have the install manual. I think these are the same. Yeah, they're very similar. These actually may be a little more universal. This says 13 pages, this says 8, so I'm wondering if this contains some info that maybe isn't relevant. So that's the Home Depot side. Next, one thing I'm noticing here is that our valve has a lot more metal on it, or our valve body, I should say. It still does have a kind of this black plastic at the end, and I can take it out. Yeah, so if we look at this one compared to the Home Depot one, we've got kind of this brass, main body versus this one is plastic. And then we do have some plastic on this black towards the end that fit in, and rubber O-rings at the end as well. I do see a little bit of difference, and this could be due, right? They are. This is single function and this is dual function. So there is a little bit of a difference in functionality, so that could contribute to it. Unfortunately, we don't have the same kit here that we kind of do here, so we're comparing a little bit of two different things. But in general, I'm curious if Delta makes the single function with a brass body, or if that's only for the dual functions. Yeah, maybe we'll find that out on a later video. Again, very similar. Everything looks the same, and obviously all of these are designed to be interchangeable with the universal valve bodies from Delta. So that's the key point, right? It's like, it doesn't matter if you're single function, dual function, all of the back end valve bodies, that we looked at in here are going to accept these commonly or regularly. So I like that. Again, the universal concept is very helpful, especially if you wanted to just swap out your trim kit, right? Let's say you've got this universal Delta rough-in valve in your wall, right? It's installed, and we put in, this is in your wall, and we put in this trim kit with this valve set and all that over the top of it. Well, let's say in 5 years, a new owner comes along, and they're like, well, actually, we want to swap out all of our fixture sets for black. That's actually a really easy swap. If you just go, online. Again, I don't think you can do this at Home Depot. I don't know what you could maybe order through them. Maybe you can, but if you went to Ferguson or for us, we can go to Ferguson and say, hey guys, we just need the trim kits to go over the universal valve bodies, and then we can swap all these to a matte black. We can change the styles. We can go to square styles. We can go to kind of a little more Victorian. We can go to any style we want, and they'll all fit over the universal valves. So as long as it's Delta, obviously if you change manufacturers, that doesn't apply. So that's something to be aware of. Is it's like, I love Delta for that fact, is their universal valve bodies pretty much indestructible, and you can use them for almost any product that they have. So just to kind of illustrate, right, we've got this is our 4-port from Ferguson with all the stuff included. If we pull this metal ring off, we can take off our protective cap, and then just to see, basically, again, this is just a port plug. So if this is roughed in the wall, you're just going to push that into one side, just like that. You're going to put this back on, and then you're going to put your ring back on, and then that's going to be where you leave it for your rough-in stage while you're doing all your work. We get to trim out. We pull that out. Again, this is inside of our wall, and then we're just going to take our valve body here. This is kind of the dual function one, right? It's got a little more of a beefy construction to it, and you're just going to slide that in just like that, and then throw this metal ring over the top, right? And that's why it's important to have that ring. The other one from Home Depot that was didn't have all the parts. Like, if you don't have that ring, this thing's just going to pop off and leak. So you need that ring. That's a key part of the install. And then something also to note, right? It's just like, we've got brass and brass. I think anytime you have a metal component, it's just going to be more durable, right? Like, I don't think we have to be a rocket scientist to know that, right? Like it just seems more durable. It's heavy. It's heavier duty. It just feels better. But the key part I was kind of noting the other time was, like, if we wanted to switch this to a single function, we could do that. This valve body will accept either one, and it literally just threads right on there. So if we installed this, and we've done this actually, if we installed this and the client's like, actually, I really don't like how this works. Can we just go back to a regular one? Absolutely. We don't have to do anything in the wall. We just take off, right? Oops, because here's our cover plate. We just take off our cover plate, take off our ring, pop out our valve assembly, and then put in our new one, or vice versa. So that's the universal, valve body from Delta. That's what I like about it. I think the compatibility and the functionality across different lines is really great. And then the key, I think, to note with the valve body or with the valve assembly itself is, it's like, this one, single function. Again, I don't know if if this is a Home Depot specific thing or a Delta thing, but I do like how the dual function is brass. I think it's just gonna have a little more longevity and a little more durability. Let's look at our shower heads. So this, again, the Home Depot kit comes with everything in there. Our Ferguson setup that we've got on this one, we're kind of mixing and matching, a little more customization. You know, this is a decent shower head. It is branded Delta, so it looks like it's from Delta. Sometimes I always look at that just to see if they use a different brand or if there's something else in here. I guess I don't know. This is all plastic. Yeah, this is all plastic. It does have kind of an adjustable knob here. And this is probably specific to the line. I'm guessing there are other ones that you could get if you want a square one, etc. We got a rubber gasket in there and just a matching shower neck that comes with it. Again, I think the key, you know, kind of the key being is it's like this all comes as a kit. Everything's in there. You've got your valve, you've got your head, you've got your handle set, you've got your trim, you've got your rough-in. It's all in here. It's in a box. It's ready to go. So I like that aspect of it. Yeah, I'm curious to see if this one is gonna have a little bit of metal on it because this is all plastic. Not the end of the world, but just I think something that I noticed right away. On our Ferguson set, in this particular bathroom that we're doing, it's in a basement, the one that's coming up that we're gonna use this for. And so we opted to do a rain head that's gonna come from the ceiling. So we've got this matching, comes right from Delta. It's a Delta genuine part, you know, so it's gonna have matching finishes. We've got just this universal 6-inch neck, and this is a straight neck, so it's gonna come from the ceiling. I think, like I say, I've highlighted it a couple times now, but the customization that you get from a plumbing supply house is gonna far supersede anything you can get from Home Depot as far as mixing and matching. And then we've got this oversized 12-inch, really clean looking rain head. This is metal, I can tell. It's heavier. Yes, all of these components are thin sheet metal and it feels way better. It feels way better than this one. Again, I'm not saying that there isn't a kit at Home Depot that has a metal shower head. They might, I don't know, but obviously that's something to point out. This guy, like we said, comes with everything that we need for our kind of our customized shower that we're gonna have. And then this is gonna be our ceiling rain head, just like that. So as you can see, really cool feature, pretty neat shower head. It's always fun to kind of unbox these and take a look at them. A lot of times I don't get to see them until they're after they're installed, or sometimes even just photos of the guys after they've put them in on site. So fun to kind of see that. And I think the key difference there is it's like, this just feels like a better product than this one. Again, downside is you have to know what you're ordering, right? You have to know that you need this, you have to know that you need this, and how to make it all come together. And the reps at Ferguson are helpful with that, and they're good at it. And then it also, this particular neck comes with a matching escutcheon, a metal escutcheon. I'm curious, is this one? This is a metal escutcheon. I'm not gonna open it, but it's a very thin one. This feels nice. And again, these are subtle details. I'd also like to note too, like this particular escutcheon, especially ones that go on the ceiling, they have a metal O-ring in them, or excuse me, a rubber O-ring in them, which is kind of a friction fit. And so that way, when you have it up there and you screw it in and then you push this up tight, it'll stay where it's supposed to be. It won't fall, versus these other ones, and they're like kind of the old school. They have like the metal fins almost, and if you're not careful, those fins can scratch your neck as you push them on. So again, subtle little differences, but things that we notice when we're installing them and as like kind of a final product, because these tend to be a little loose. Sometimes you have to put a dab of silicone to make it kind of sit where you want it to sit. So overall, a little more customization. We've got a fully metal, full metal construction on this particular shower head. And I just liked kind of the components that we put together here from a customizable standpoint versus an all-in-one kit in the box ready to go. So let's talk a little bit about finish, right? I noted earlier that we do have a slight variation in the finish product here. Ultimately, I think, especially on these shower heads, I think the key thing here is this is plastic, this is a plastic component, and this is a metal component. It's very similar, but it's not the same. It's not the same. So if you were to maybe grab this shower head, if it was sold independently at Home Depot and try to match it or throw it onto our system here that we've got going in the shower, you may notice that. And we've had clients kind of point that out with certain other brands and certain other manufacturers, because when you mix and match, sometimes you'll get that as well. Brushed nickel tends to be the most forgiving. What we notice a lot in our golds and some of the new golds coming out, they can vary drastically from one manufacturer to the other. So just something to keep in mind. Even within lines, like we're seeing the Home Depot plastic product be slightly different than the Ferguson metal product here on this particular example. Now let's talk about our sink fixtures. Again, like we already mentioned, this one's more like a retail facing box. You can see what it is. This is definitely for builders, you know, coming from Ferguson, coming from our vendor. So let's open this one, see what it feels like. Something to note too is like this is a widespread faucet. What we wanted to do was get the exact same set, the Ferrin set, just because we thought that made sense. But it is going to be a widespread, and I think this one that we've got over here is going to be a single pole. So not the exact same configuration. Yeah, first thing I noticed, which I do know on the Delta lines, the ones we get from Ferguson, they have kind of a braided line here. This is like a poly line. So right off the bat, I don't like these as much. They're a little more economical. That's probably why this tends to be a little bit more inexpensive as a fixture set. You know, why you should care if your lines are like a braided line set or a poly or a plastic line set is poly tends to break down over time. The metal braided lines are more flexible. They're more forgiving as far as getting into tight spaces, making tight corners and tight turns. These sometimes will kink if you're not careful. So there's just there's a handful of things along with, like, you know, plastic. I don't love plastic things. So the more metal, the more, I would say, kind of traditional, you know, copper, metal, good construction, good assembly practices, whatever we want to call that, I guess. I'm just gravitating towards that as an installer, as a contractor, from a warranty perspective, from a maintenance perspective, and just from like a longevity perspective. We like our bathrooms to hold up, you know, the test of time. That if styles change and somebody wants something different, that's a different case, but we don't want it to like break or malfunction. Everything in here looks fairly standard. I'm not seeing anything that catches my eye. This is interesting. So again, I wish we had the widespread on that version, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. This is kind of like a modified shark bite of some sorts, and this is gonna put, you know, this is gonna plug into here, and then the other one right here is gonna plug into the other side, and then they're going to basically come together here and then mix and go up into our head here. So nothing abnormal there. That's all fairly standard. I just don't know if I love this connection. It seems a little bit, I don't know the word. Doesn't give me good feelings. We'll just put it that way. Overall though, everything, this is all metal. All the finishes seem to be metal. Let's see if this is. Sometimes these are plastic. I've noticed that before. Yeah, this top is a plastic finish top. It is a nice little push pop, but this is their cheaper version. Full plastic body, which is common. That's not uncommon. Yeah, and a fairly small drain head. Usually these just pull right out, but that might be different. Oh, I see. Yeah, nothing uncommon with that. Typically those are what we see. I just don't like that this finish, yeah, that is plastic. Just anytime we see plastic, like this, obviously the whole assembly is plastic on plastic, and if you do it right, you don't have to worry about it. But something I've noticed on both sides of this is that if you tighten this up and you have like a deformed or a oddly shaped sink opening, and you have to really kind of wrench this down, I've seen these strip and slip away. So that's where plastic can be an issue. And then also I've seen the tops of these, if they're not metal, I've seen them mushroom a little bit. Again, most of the time this comes from when a sink has a slight imperfection, which that's not uncommon. And there's several ways to fix that and get around it, and it's not the end of the world. But I think you can see these start to kind of manipulate differently if they're not metal and hold their shape really well. And then just you push this a lot up and down. I think another key thing that I've noticed over the years is that these plastic finishes, they will wear differently than a metal finish. And what I mean by that, especially in the bottom of your sink at your drain location, is I've seen them start to get spotting. I've seen them start to sort of peel. I've seen them sort of, I don't want to say patina, but almost, and not a good patina, like a bad patina. Like they get spotting. Maybe that's the best way to put it. They get spotting. So the plastic tops tend to get spotting for different water qualities and water, variables, I guess maybe is what we'll call that. Or even just like hot and cold, they can lose their finish really easily. So that's what I don't love about plastic, especially in a high use, high wear area like at the bottom of the sink where it's gonna see water all the time versus like on a handle or the neck, you're not touching it all the time. Like especially this one, the handles obviously you're touching to move on and off. But it's not seeing the repetitive, water that this is every single day that's coming down on top of it, hot, cold, wet, dry, push, pop, up, down. Like you're just getting a lot of use here. It's also going to see everything that comes down it, basically, from toothpaste to hair products to nail products to any of that kind of stuff. So I think that's what I don't love about plastic, is it just doesn't hold up that great. And I've seen issues with it. So I like these to be metal if they can be. Now let's talk about our set from Ferguson. Again, simple, plain box, nothing crazy here. I think this is the Nikolai set. Yeah, so this is the Delta Nikolai. This is gonna be a single pole. So again, slightly different configuration. Not the end of the world. Again, for this particular comparison, probably should have got the same one, but that's okay. So let's talk about this. Similar thing. Yeah, this one does already feel better. It's very similar, very similar. I can tell though that the wall thickness here is larger, or the wall of the drain assembly is thicker. I can just feel that. I can just tell, and you can see it. So this has a kind of a thinner assembly, which again, when you think about like tightening these down, it's like, all right, well, how much pressure could they actually take before maybe they fail? So something to consider there. I also like the gasket here is a little bit different. I can feel it. It's actually kind of got a little bit of like a stick to it. Both are kind of soft rubber, but this feels almost a little softer, maybe a little more malleable. And then it looks like the bottom flange is actually a little bit wider to kind of catch kind of those deformities in maybe a sink assembly. The push pop, this is the same. I kind of expected that. Yeah, I kind of expected that. The flange does look almost the same though. So maybe this is just what Delta has come out with. It's kind of hard to tell. The finish is slightly different, and that could be just from sitting on a shelf longer or something. Overall, subtle differences, but these look very similar. Not the end of the world, very similar. I was kind of expecting that to be metal, so maybe that's just what we get now. All of our other stuff in here. So this looks to be a poly line as well. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so maybe this is what we're getting. It does have a better connection point though. I do like these better than these ones. Similar though, very similar, and then it just has a threaded connection because these are going to go right into your wall valves. So these lines, they are still kind of a plastic product, but in here it says InnoFlex, PEX-C. So it's a PEX product, and they kind of have a gray coloring to them, and these are going to go directly. They already come with the threaded assembly to go directly into your quarter turn valve on your wall on your supply lines. So I don't hate that. You don't have another connection. Obviously, again, we're comparing a single pole to a widespread, but if we look at these ones, right, like it's just, this is a stiff plastic. It's different. It's not the same. They are not the same. So if we're really talking about quality, I think that this line set, even though it is a PEX, a PEX product, which we have lots of PEX products in our homes now, it feels better. It is better than this one. This is kind of a poly, sort of a black plastic line. Again, small, subtle difference, but one of those things that could be attributing to kind of the cost difference. When we look at finishes, these both look very similar. You know, they're both a metal. You can hear them; they're kind of clanked. Both a metal finish. But if we kind of compare that, yeah, to our shower head, right? Like even if you bought the two kits for your sink and your shower from Home Depot, you're still gonna have a subtle difference there, right? Like it's not major. I mean, it's I would say I'm probably fine with it. Most people are probably okay with it. But if it's something that you're like really concerned about, that's a key difference there, where it's like, ah, man, like if your shower and your sink happen to be close together, or if they're, you know, in eyesight and it's something that draws your attention because your lighting is maybe a little more bright or maybe a little more yellow, whatever could potentially alter the way that we see colors, that could be something that bothers you. So from a longevity perspective, obviously we don't love plastic, and just from a finish, like a matching perspective, it's subtle, but it's a little different. Again, brushed nickel, maybe not as big of a deal. When you get into the golds, matte blacks also maybe not as big of a deal, but any of the gold fixtures, we see those finishes vary a lot from manufacturer to manufacturer and from different product types like that, or different assembly types. Something else to note, right? Obviously this is a widespread fixture, but in a widespread fixture, you're gonna need an additional line set to hook up to your hot water here. So you're gonna have to have a line set that goes from here into your wall or into your quarter turn valve, and then these, you know, these poly lines are gonna go into that T part that we had here, or I don't even know what you call it, V, or whatever this is, into there, and then they're all gonna mix and go through the valve like they should, or go through the neck like they should. Versus a single pole, and this is more just a difference between single pole versus widespread. This set is gonna go directly into your wall, so you're ready to go. You don't have to buy anything. It comes, again, out of the box, ready to roll. I would be curious to see if the widespread fixtures from Delta that we get from Ferguson have that as well, or if they're gonna require an additional line set. I think that is something, at least in the last few, if I'm thinking correctly, that they already have all of that. And as long as your connection point isn't too far away and they meet the specs, like you don't have to do anything with this and you just plug it right in. That could be a potential downside. Like if you've got a unique assembly, there's no way to replace these. You know, you would have to basically just cut them and tie on to make them longer, right? So that could be a potential downfall. Or you could put a fitting on too and just do a union fitting or something to go to a longer line set. But again, if your install is prepped right and the rough ends are where they need to be, these are usually plenty long. So I think there's three things we got to pay attention to here. It's going to be quality, customization, and price, right? And when we look at both of these that we just compared, from a quality perspective, although it's fairly minimal, there is quality differences, right? You're going to have maybe some inferior stuff on the out of the box option versus, you know, the vendors that we use. From a customization standpoint, you're only going to be able to pick from a few things off the shelf at Home Depot that are going to come all in one in the box ready to go, which could be great if that's what you're looking for. But if you want a fully customized bathroom with all the parts and pieces that you want from a Pinterest photo, I think going to a supply house is really going to be the route to go. Along with that, you're going to get probably a little more customer service that'll help you make sure you get exactly what you want. Lastly, price point, right? This particular option from a supply house is gonna be roughly 10 to 15% more than an out-of-the-box, off-the-shelf option from Home Depot or a big box store. And when we factor all those together, right, like I don't think either option is bad. I think you just have to understand what's the option that's right for you, right? If you're a DIYer, if you kind of know what you're doing or really know what you're doing, or maybe it is I don't love flips, but maybe it's a fix and flip. This option probably works really well for you. If you are wanting to live in your home for 5 to 10 years, if you want something that's gonna last long, if it's gonna look great and it's gonna hold up, you know, and have the parts and pieces that are gonna function exactly how you want and have all that customization, I think the supply house is the way you're gonna go. So those are my thoughts on which way to go and which fits, you know, which type of project and which type of person. So at Northbuilt, we're making all sorts of videos around bathroom remodeling. If you've got a project coming up or interested to learn more, hit the subscribe button, stay tuned, and follow along for more. If you're in the Denver metro area with an upcoming bathroom remodel project, head over to our website, northbuiltconstruction.com. Check out our featured projects on there, and if it makes sense, fill out a form and reach out. We'd love to talk and see if there's a way we can help you.